Weird sciencey facts that boggle my mind. Ice bacteria. Now, this may come as a surprise to you if you're not a meteorologist, but every raindrop is a special little snowflake. Or at the very least, it starts out that way. So clouds are condensation, just big puffs of water vapor up there in the sky. But if they want to make it rain, or snow, or hail, that vapor needs to condense into, not a vapor. And to do that, it has to freeze. Little tiny ice crystals have to form that other little droplets of water can latch onto and form ice crystals till it gets heavy enough to fall out of the sky. So it's a good thing that way up there, it's always below freezing. In fact, at 20,000 feet, it's an average of 12 below. That's brisk. But if it's always that cold, how do clouds even form in the first place? Wouldn't the water vapor just freeze as soon as it got up to its freezing point and fall back to Earth right away? Well, you know how your science teacher told you that water freezes at 32 degrees Fahrenheit or 0 Celsius? That's not entirely true. Pure water does not freeze at 32 degrees or 0 degrees if you haven't been to the moon. It actually stays a liquid until negative 36 degrees Fahrenheit, negative 38 Celsius. And that's because for water to freeze above that temperature, they need something to latch onto to form crystals. This is part of the reason why moving water can stay thawed at colder temperatures. Also, moving water generates heat through friction, which is another part of it, but not relevant to the story. For this purpose, it's because ice crystals struggle to latch onto each other when the water's moving. This is also part of the reason that beer you just grabbed out the door of your fish house was liquid before you popped the top, but instantly turned into a beer slushie when you cracked it open. The release of those carbonation bubbles gave enough surface area for those water molecules to latch onto and form crystals and pretty much instantly freeze. Sulfate! Just got jousted by my dog. So without some dust, dirt, soot, some sort of contamination to kick off the ice nucleation, that's what they call it, you can quite literally have ice cold water. So what's this got to do with the bacteria I mentioned at the beginning of the video? Well, hold on, I'm getting there. There are specific types of bacteria, one in particular called P. syringae, I think. I'm probably way off, that have evolved to facilitate the forming of ice crystals. Apparently so much so that they can get them to form just slightly above freezing temperatures. But the way that these bacteria have their protein structures designed, alive or dead, they can really efficiently facilitate the formation of ice. It seems they've evolved this unique ability as a way of damaging plant cells, because once the plant has frost damage, it's easier for the bacteria to work its way inside and infect the plant. This bacteria, I guess, is a pretty common problem with crops. But crops are on the land, not in the clouds, so what the hell does this bacteria have to do with making it rain? Well, clouds are basically distilled water. When the water vaporizes and floats away, it leaves behind most of its contaminants. There's not much for dust or soot or contamination way up there to create those ice crystals to make it rain or precipitate it all. But these microscopic bacteria, on the other hand, being teensy tiny, find it a little bit easier to ride the wind to a view from the top. And then, as you can guess, when they're up there walking on the clouds find out they're infested with bacteria and they freeze up. In fact, they're so effective at making snow that dead bacteria like this are used in snow max, which is the stuff that they put in the water in the snow machines on ski hills to make artificial snow. What's even crazier is it wasn't until just a few years ago, I want to say like 2008, that scientists actually found definitive proof that it was this same bacteria that makes real snow. And they still haven't figured out how much this bacteria actually affects weather patterns and what percent of precipitation it's directly responsible for. But we know now that its effects are substantial, and more research is going into how these little bacteria pull off their cool trick to dunce and how they affect weather patterns. But the fact that the same bacteria that's responsible for killing your May flowers is also at least in part responsible for bringing their April showers, well, that is pretty mind-boggling.